What is gwan in peeps? What is gwan in? Let's shine a light on this. For some reason, it's very dull this morning. Okay, so we're shining a light on the situation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. It's Valerie's Naturals Oracle. Sorry, I'm a tiny bit late, Patreons. I actually linked this into Patreon, but um, I was making myself a coffee, as you can see, with the steam coming out of it. I have to wait for it to cool down a bit. But today it's Friday. Thank TGFJ or whatever you call it. Thank goodness it's Friday. And I thought, in honor of Friday, we're going to do something pleasurable. Instead of doing what we normally do, all gloom and doom. Well, I'm hoping this is not gloom or doom. I've got out the Pleasure Oracle. I don't know if you've seen these before, but you'd think looking at this it would allude to sex, but a lot of it is about yourself and your self-image and your inner child and your sexuality and your intimacy and all sorts of things like that. So I thought I'd do one of their spreads today. And the first card that we're looking for is all about what your truest desire is, first of all. Holy Spirit, holy angels, thank you for your guidance, protection, assistance. What is the collective's desire? Shall we find out? You know, it could be you. If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. But you know what? Sometimes it's fun to do something different, isn't it? So let's get some cards out. Holy Spirit, holy angels, thank you for your guidance, protection, assistance. Please give me a message for the collective. What is the collective's desire? And you know, it doesn't have to resonate with everybody. Let's find out what the collective's desire is. We're going to go by the picture. So the very first card is this one, and I don't know what that is. And it says here, "Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, a place for the sensual." Oh no, this is the title card. Sorry, this is one of the title cards. I didn't know. Trust me to get out the title card. Okay. So the card that's come out is Spellbound. This is your desires. Okay, and it says here, we all read the romance poets and head to the breakup songs. Love is a drug, and it's usually infatuation, a fixation, a desperate longing for a fevered dream. Both anguish and sweet. It's a spell we hope never breaks, yet break it we must if we're ever going to uncover sustainable relationship under rubble of romantic self wreckage. So the action here is falling under another spell is delicious, but like dancing with fairies, if you stay too long in that trance state, you may never come back. You may be taken advantage of. You may lose yourself entirely in another instead of further buttress your own empowerment. Stand firm. No one gets more of your time and energy than you do. Do you know what this is saying to me? This is the desire is that you really want your person, you really want somebody in your life, but you can't stay fixated on that. I'm getting, and this is what I always preach, I'm getting from that desire that, you know, although you want this person, you should be on your journey, you should be on your message. It's all well and good with all the romance novels and all the daydreaming and everything else, but we have to get back to reality. This is what this is about. So although this is a desire, let's figure out what the next thing is. Although this is a desire, we need to know what is standing in your way of this. What is standing in the way of this? What is standing in the way of this desire? So let's get another card out. What's standing in the way? Oh, it says, what's standing in the way is asking nicely. Consent in erotic situations isn't a monologue, it's a dialogue. Rather than expecting your partner to wave a white flag of approval, continuously get acquainted with the hot act of asking. Through seductive verbal exchange, whether whispered, moaned, or yelled, one can create a safe, mutual space for the options of expansive play and make communication arousing. Because it is! So, the action bypass the cultural shame surrounding asking for what you want by giving people clear permission to just go ahead and tell you. At the very least, you'll unlock a new mode of fervent encouragement. Does this feel good? Can I touch you there? Words hold power. Do you know what this is? This is what's standing in the way, communication. Do you have a hard time with the communication? Have you blocked, delete, karate chop? Is this a message to say now is time to open up? Now is to unblock the barriers. Now is the time to do this because you need the communication. So remember, this is desire. This is what's standing in the way of the desire. So this is somebody in your life you're daydreaming about. This is the message, isn't it? I wasn't expecting this. This is somebody you're daydreaming about. Okay, and this is what is standing in the way, and the way is, and that's all about communication, whether it's sexually, verbally, physically, emotionally, whatever. It's the communication. So the last card that's coming out is how to overcome this. The outcome, how to overcome this. I'm going to take this one and look. It said, and this is the picture that goes with this one, and it says defiant. Oh my goodness, you can't miss it. Defiant vulnerability. Growing up, we're taught that sex is taboo and shameful. Then, in mainstream adult depictions, it portrays as robotic, typically clinical, unimaginative, and made through a violent, classic male gaze. Defiant vulnerability falls outside of the binary of covert versus overt dynamics and instead allows sexuality to be exactly what it is, human. That the action here is that means acknowledging the emotional being inside the body. It means unashamedly sharing our needs, wants, and particular appetites. It means authentic communication. Again, the communication at all times. And it means being unapologetic about voicing how you feel. Anything less isn't sexy or subversive. It's social and cultural obedience. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Again, it's coming out. So the desire is all this business about the spellbound. What is standing in the way of that? What is standing in the way of that? Somebody asking nicely. And that's what's coming out. Asking nicely. Let me turn these around now because that would make more sense. Asking nicely, which results in communication. If you can use your words, use your community. Don't assume. A lot of people assume things are going to happen, and when it doesn't, they're disappointed. But they didn't ask for it in the first place. And like it says here, and the last one, the outcome is vulnerability. Wow, why are these here, Spirit? I'm going to get out some special cards today. Some new cards I got in the post yesterday. Well, I got Amazon yesterday. I love them. I'm going to show them to you in a minute. I'm not even going to utter their names because the minute I do that, I collect cards. But it annoys me that the minute I take out some cards, everybody's using them. And I hate that. Or is it that I noticed that people have got the cards anyway? But these ones are fantastic. It's a little bit like the vice versa deck that I've got. And I don't know if you know what vice versa is, but the negative is at the back. With these ones, the cards are a tale of two halves. So I'll show you them in a minute. So let's find out first of all, why are these cards here? Why is it that do you know what? It's almost like that card was saying that we're daydreaming. We're seeing somebody in one reality. This is what I'm getting from it. We're seeing somebody in one reality, but really, that's not the person. You was blindsided by somebody. You had an impression of somebody, but they showed you something else. So it's back to getting into your purpose. But if only that person, or you, in fact, was to step forward and be bold and tell you what you want rather than being wishy-washy about it and just thinking about it and trying to make it that somebody's supposed to know your mind. Nobody knows your mind. Do you know what I mean? Because the outcome here is all about vulnerability. You have to ask for what you want. So I want to know why these cards are here. Holy Spirit, Holy Angels, thank you. So I've got the Two of Pentacles. It's about balance. What is going on here? You see, I mean, the minute you see someone trying to balance whatever was going on here, but what we got here is balance and equilibrium. Does it have to be a give and take? Does it have to be? Is there a decision that someone needs to make? Because maybe one of you is very defensive and somebody just wants to communicate how they feel. Somebody just wants to communicate what it is. Somebody just wants you to be in that space where you can be vulnerable. I don't know, but somewhere along the line, somebody wants to come forward. Look, Page of Wands. Somebody wants to come forward to you. Do you notice that stick? How red it is? Oh, Val, did you have to go there? Well, you did get the pleasure decks out today, but so far it's all in the good, because I don't know if you notice with these cards, they've got two images, and that is the negative of this card, and that is the positive of this card. So somebody wants to come to you, wants to start a new action with you, wants to start some kind of, do they want to be vulnerable with you? Because we've got the Ten of Swords. Now, either which way you look at this card, it's going to be a negative. But the only thing that's stopping them and stopping them from being vulnerable and everything else is the past betrayal. Here we go again. The past betrayal. But they have to be vulnerable. They have to be vulnerable at this point, because they see things changing with you. They have to come forward. Maybe this is why, I don't know why I've got the pleasure cards out today, but the pleasure cards are still giving the same message. Although some of it is overtly sexual, do you see the underlying message here with these cards? You're thinking about somebody, or somebody's really seriously thinking about you. Okay? Really seriously thinking about you. And what's going on here is that they're trying to strike a balance, but they can't do that. They're trying to strike a balance and be balanced for you. I don't know what's going on in the background with them, okay? But they can't do that if you are going to be in this state. Is it time to take your barriers down just to hear what they've got to say? Is it time to take the barriers down? How will they know? Well, if this person's in your energy, they know when to come forward, don't they? Do you know what I mean? If this person's in your energy, because they want to take a new action with you. They want to take a new action with you, but they're very stressed about it. They're thinking about all the past betrayals that happened. All the past betrayals that happened. And, you know, it's almost like they were sleeping on you. They were sleeping on you. And although you kind of was upfront and in their face about what you wanted, they were wishy-washy about what they wanted. And partly is because they were imbalanced, but they're now trying to balance themselves out. I don't know what they're trying to balance out. It could be being a workaholic. It could be that they were the player from the Himalayas. It could be that they had something in the background they were dealing with, and it was making them imbalanced. Perhaps it could be drink, it could be drugs, it could be addiction, whatever. But they betrayed you in the past, and they see that betrayal now. That's the only thing that's stopping them. And the other thing that's stopping them is because they see things changing with you. You're not the same person. Have they finally woken up to the fact that you are just not the same person? And what they were doing didn't make no sense. What they were doing to you didn't make no sense because you're not the same person. I could understand if you was like them and you were staying in the past, but you're not the same person. And it was evident to them you wasn't the same person, but they still did what they did out of revenge, out of having their own way, out of ego, out of pride, because they didn't want to show their emotions, they didn't want to be vulnerable. But it says here clearly, vulnerability is the key. It's not a weakness to be vulnerable. Honestly, it's not a weakness to be vulnerable. It's a strength to be vulnerable, because you're bearing your soul, your all to somebody. That's a strength. It's not a weakness. Weak is being in your ego and standing back and doing nothing. That is what you call weak, and you're letting your life pass you by, thinking that's the right thing to do is to not say anything. What if you said something and it worked out in your favor? What if you said something and it worked out in your favor? What if you did? And so what if you're going to bear your all? At least you did it, and then you have no regrets. But if you don't do it, you can have regrets. If there's one thing in this life that I don't want, is regrets. I want to do everything that I've always wanted to do. On the top of my bucket list is to be on safari on my 60th birthday. That is on the top of my bucket list. And if I didn't get to do that, I'd be in regret. That's just an example. It's just like in this game of war and peace. In this game of love, all fares in love and war. If you don't step forward to what you want, no matter how crazy it sounds, how do you know you're not going to get it? I've learned in this life that somebody can only turn around and say to you no, and then you move on. It may hurt you at the time, but time is a healer. Time is the master. Time is a healer. Okay. And we're on this earth to have a human experience. Okay. And that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but we're on this earth to have a human experience. Why are you not living life to the full? Why are you not doing what you want to do? Why are you making things more difficult than it needs to be? Be that person that's vulnerable and open. Be that person. Wow, I don't know where all that's coming from. Spirit come true, spirit come true. There's some serious because I'm telling you, these cards, let me get something else out because these cards are telling the story basically. There was somebody in your life who was being imbalanced with you. You had to defend yourself. They now want to come forward, but they're stressing about it because what they did in the past. The only problem with that is that you're changing. What else is coming out? Holy Spirit, Holy Angels, thank you for your guidance, protection, assistance. Please give me the message. What else is coming out here? Thank you, Spirit. Please tell me. What else is coming out here? And it's all to do with the fact that this person perceived you to be one way, but they were mistaken. And all they have to do is really communicate clearly, which they wasn't doing before. But they were doing that deliberately, not defining anything, not showing you anything, not being the person that they should have been to you. And you was there to help them, to heal them, to be that earth angel to them, to guide them, to show them that there is a different life from what they were leading. And you know, they didn't take the hint. They wanted what they wanted. They wanted to be in their ego. They wanted to be in their pride. They wanted to be all those things. Okay. And all it takes is to be vulnerable. To be vulnerable. That's all it takes is to be vulnerable and to stop being in your ego and your pride. But why is this coming out, Spirit? What else have you got to tell us about this story before I go? Because I'm not going to hang around. But it's Friday. Yeah. Don't rush in and do things like this. Because this night, when you see the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Swords sometimes it's not intentional, but sometimes it's ill intent. Somebody rushed into something. Okay, this could go two ways. Either this person wants to rush in, or they rushed into something. They were totally tunnel visioned because they were in their logic. When you see swords, it's a lot about the thinking, the mind, strategy, and logic. Okay, and this person was in their logic, and they didn't see their head from their heart. Okay, they was just in their headspace, and they kind of did the pros and cons. I used to do this a lot, pros and cons of everything. Okay, and I said, well, this person's got more money than this person. This person is a little wish-washy, but mind you, this person can do all these things, but this other person can't. I'm going to go with the one with the most pros. Okay, not thinking with their heart space, thinking, well, if I was to work with this person, maybe we can develop what I could get with the other person. Because that other person's already there. So therefore, will they be the way that I want them to be because they're already where they are? But if I worked with somebody, maybe we could get to where we want to be. Is that making sense? But instead, they were tunnel vision. They went through this thing. They looked at the pros and cons. They went forward and they made the wrong choice. Is what I'm going to say. Look, the Knight of Pentacles, instead of being this knight, slow and steady and making the right decision. Okay. And now they have to come with some clarity and truth, whoever this person is. And that means being vulnerable. Do you see the snake? That's vulnerability in itself. Imagine moving forward, regardless of the obstacles, to actually tell your truth. The truth sets you free. This is what people don't seem to understand. The truth sets you free. If you are honest and truthful about any situation, there's nothing to hide from. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to keep in the closet. There's no bones in the closet. If you are upfront and honest with everybody, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing nobody can use against you. Do you know what I mean? And look, here is a woman. This is the Empress. This is a woman, the baby. I want to know why this is here. Is it that they need to be truthful about a situation in the background that they involved you with it in without you even knowing sometimes? Do you see this baby suckling a baby? Do you see this woman suckling a baby? Is this the baby mother they never told you about? Is this about the numerous kids that they've got that they never told you about? Is it about somebody in the background? Do you know? Let's find out, shall we? What's the next card that's coming out? The Hermit. Wow. Here's what we got here. This person didn't analyze the situation with this Empress. It's almost like, now the Hermit is normally about, look, the Tower. See, look, here we go. The Tower in reverse. They were trying to avoid certain things. They was trying to avoid certain things. Okay. And in order to do that, they hid. Here's what we're going through. They hid this person from you first of all, but now this person's gone into hermit mode to avoid tower moments. Okay. And this is because they hid the truth about this person they had in the background. This is not going to resonate with everybody. But if this person will just come forward and be vulnerable, if they'd have been truthful in even the first place, that they've got somebody in the background that they have to be dealing with and this, that, and the other, and or they were seeing somebody, at least you had the choice to know whether to go forward or not and be a friend with benefits, and whether this person, assuming that's what you wanted, or making you assume certain things, because some of these people treated you like they was committed to you, and they weren't. They wanted all the benefits of commitment without being committed, and this is what some of these peoples did. And when you realize that's what they were doing, you cut them off at the knees. And they didn't like it, not one little bit. You cut them off at the knees. They thought they could play you and get away with it. They thought they could play this game of, oh, let's pretend we're committed and we're not really. So when you ask them direct questions, they go, well, let's see how it goes. That's somebody who wants to have friends with benefits. When someone says like that, something like that to you, but they want to carry on, let's see how it goes. What does that mean? That's not an action. That's not telling you anything. From you hear something like that, for example, you know it's time to go. Especially if you want what they want, that's fine. But if you don't want what they want, because you get to a certain point in your life. Like for me, for example, I'm in my 50s now. I am here to play games. If you want to have something with me, make sure it's something that leads towards a commitment. Because the minute I get the idea that you're trying to play games, I'm gone. And that's exactly what I do and what I did. And I will cut you off in the process too, regardless of who you are. You could be somebody I know 20 years ago. History don't make no difference. Okay, especially as you're a changed person. Once upon a time, you would have taken that person back, but you're not doing that now because you're a changed person. And this is what happens when people live in the past as well. When people live in the past, they see a certain expectation of you. They're expecting you to be the same person, and you're not. And so when their expectations don't go their way, that's when they start getting angry with you and all sorts of nonsense. But you're doing nothing but being you, the new you, not the past you. They want you to be the past you so they can keep taking advantage of you and being manipulative and all that. They want you to be the past you, but it's not going to happen anymore. So they either come with the truth or step off. And this person is actually in. Do you know what? This person could be in hermit mode, and your person could be in hermit mode, or whoever this is, because this is about somebody who needs to be vulnerable, and they don't want to be. They don't want to be, because they know that and I pick up the right cards because they know telling the truth and being honest and giving some clarity comes with a sting. And the sting is things that they've been doing in the background behind your back, or while you was in a situationship or whatever you was with this person. Whatever you want to call it, a commitment, a marriage, a situationship, a relationship, they were doing some snaky, dark things in the background. So much so that if they told you the truth, it would be like poison to you. And the truth will set you free. They will release their truth on you because they're going to realize that releasing the truth on them sets them free. Whereas harboring the truth is just binding them. This is what people don't seem to understand. This is why the snake is wrapped around here, because it's a binding situation. If somebody was to come forward and give their truth, yes, it releases them. But are you throwing that burden onto somebody else? And this is probably why this person is here, because maybe it does set them truth, but it shows a different side to this person. It shows a side to this person you never expected or never wanted to know. And yes, sometimes the truth sets you free, and this person will probably feel released once they're released from this situation. Vulnerability is a big deal. It might even bind you now. It might even think, oh my God, what the hell is this? And either you go with it or you release it. One of the two. But there's nothing like having a perception. This is like having a perception of somebody spellbound. You have this perception of somebody, or somebody has a perception of you. Okay. But what this person needs to communicate rather than assuming, this is what I'm getting from this. Assumptions is not good. You need to communicate. And the only way to communicate sometimes is to be vulnerable, especially if you're hiding stuff. And that's what that's about. Do you know what I mean? This is deep, people. Is it weak being vulnerable? No. Because it takes strength to be vulnerable and to tell people your truth. And do you know what? You tell people your truth and they ignore you or they reject you or they ban you after that. That's on them. And it may hurt you for a while. But you know what? At least you released your truth and it's out there. And they do what they will with it. Do you know what I mean? It's no longer, you've released it. It's no longer your obligation. You've told the truth. But you see, when people lie and then they hide things from you, they hide the truth from you. Do you know, it's hard to keep up lies sometimes. It's hard to do that. It's hard to, because sometimes you slip up, you tell so much lies sometimes that you just slip up and you don't realize you slip up. And if you're somebody like me, you see the slip up and you say nothing and you pretend like you never heard what they said, or you pretend like you don't know. Do you know what I mean? But then you start withdrawing from that person and you understand and you know who they are. So you don't have to say anything, you just withdraw. You just withdraw, and this is what this is about. And although these cards start off with sex, they're very sexual cards, and I thought I'd get them out. But in factual fact, the messages that come with it says here, spellbound. And this is all about the desire. This is the desire, okay? You see a perspective of somebody, you want them to be who you want them to be, but in reality, it's a different thing. It says, falling under another spell is delicious, but like dancing with fairies, if you stay too long in that trance state, you may never come back. You may be taken advantage of. You may lose yourself entirely instead of further buttress of your own empowerment. Stand firm. No one gets more of your time and energy than you do. Think about yourself first, above all. Think about yourself first. And this is where it is. This is what it is. This is the situation to overcome. Bypass the cultural shame surrounding asking for what you want by giving people clear permission to just go ahead and tell you. Communication. And this is about the vulnerability. That means acknowledging the emotional being inside the body. It means unashamedly sharing our needs, wants, and particular appetites. Oh, and it means being unapologetic about voicing how you feel. There's nothing wrong with voicing how you feel. Do you know? You let it out there. Is it safe to be? Sometimes, do you know what? It's a strong person to be vulnerable. Sometimes you don't feel safe being vulnerable with people. When you're finally vulnerable with people and they abandon you and they reject you and they do all sorts of things like that, it makes you want to put up your barriers, though. It makes you want to put up your barriers, doesn't it? It makes you protect your energy. But how long can I say this and I said this again? Sometimes we're overprotective of our energy. Sometimes it's good to hear people out. Because if you're an intuitive person or you've been touched by divine, you know if this person's telling you the truth or not. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's better sometimes to just let down your barriers and let people be who they are. Let them show their true selves to you. Let them be vulnerable. Don't let them feel ashamed to be vulnerable. Like and a lot 9 times out of 10, these people did that to you. They make you feel ashamed to be vulnerable. They made you feel ashamed to be vulnerable, some of these people. Because they think vulnerability is weak and it's not, it's being strong. Because to be vulnerable, you have to be a strong person. Because you got to prepare yourself for the rejection sometimes. And that's okay, but at least you have no regrets. You know, it's the worst thing to actually pass over to the other side and have regrets. Do you know what I mean? Or you've had to live your life vicariously through other people because you thought it was a stupid thing to actually do what you wanted to do and rather just go with the flow. Going with the flow rather than like being with doing what other people want as opposed to what you want. Spirit come true today, spirit come true. I'm telling you, this is deep. I didn't mean to go down this road because it started off as a pleasure thing, but it's really talking about It's talking about our perceptions of people, and bursting that bubble and get into reality. Communicating is a big deal, but you have to know how to communicate effectively. Talking and communicating is one thing. Whew, that's deep. And being vulnerable is even deeper. That's the deepest thing you can do, is to be vulnerable with somebody. And if they don't reciprocate, it makes it harder for you. It makes you want to be defensive. It makes you want to be up in your head. It makes you stop. It stops you from taking action. Sometimes it takes. You think to yourself, "Oh my God, if I do this thing, or if I be vulnerable with somebody, this is how it's going to be met, with stagnancy and abandonment." You don't want that. Do you know what I mean? If you take an action towards somebody, are you sure? There's a song called Are You Sure? It's a Jamaican song. How's it go again? I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there because I can't sing this morning. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there, people. That was deep. And just know as a parting word, that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. Communication is better than pondering. Having a perception about somebody is not good. You need to know the reality. Don't go on by perceptions or go on past misdeeds. Go on the past and think that person is the same. Even 3 months ago, I wasn't the same person than I am today. And this is what you don't seem to understand, though. This is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. People change. If you have goals in mind, if you are spiritually minded, if you have you know, you are going to be that person that is going to change. You're ever evolving. We have a thing called human revolution in Buddhist sense. Human revolution means to evolve, to come out of the person you was, to actually clear out your karmas. It's about clearing out your karmas and being that person that is fully vulnerable and is a truth giver and who has morals and standards, who is not somebody that is going to hide how they feel about certain things, because you're a stronger person. And it's all about clearing karma sometimes too. Do you know, giving rather than receiving. Do you know, being that person that will be a ride or die for specific people, but you know who not to be a ride or die for. Just because you are in that state of being a Buddhist, for example, doesn't mean that you have people taking advantage of you. There's no chance in hell that Buddha or even spirit, the universe, your source is going to let that happen. They're going to open your eyes to certain things and know who to be vulnerable with and who not to be vulnerable with. And if you do be vulnerable with people, so what? That's your truth. Anyway, I'm going to stop it now. And so until next time, take care. That was deep.